Welcome back, everybody. I want to show you how I built this cemetery garden statue. It's been a prop that I've had for about 3 or 4 years now. It was inspired by some pictures I saw on Pinterest, um, kind of, a few years, a couple years prior to me building this. And then when I actually saw a full picture of, I recognized the yard it came from, and it's kind of a big shout out to Davis Graveyard for I believe they did this as one of their like a make and take workshop or something like that. But for a while I didn't know who made it, and I made mine, and then next thing you know I saw a picture revealing that it was made by them. Mine's a little bit different because, as the thumbnail says, with the twist. I added a small RPM motor to it, so now the skull will actually have this breathing motion with the open mouth closing. So has a regular 12-volt connector on it, small 4 RPM motor, copper wire for the linkage, little screw eye for to attach it to the skull. I did have to dig out some of the XPS there a little bit for the skull to sit into it, but that was kind of like an afterthought after I started making all these extra details for it. So anyways, thanks for joining me, and I'll show you how to make this. So the tools we're going to need for this is, of course, the XPS foam, sanding blocks, fine and coarse, good sharp knife, metal ruler so we can keep it in line. Down here, hanging, ready to go, is a wood burning knife, I guess, for wood burning etching, or you can use a soldering iron. Either one works as long as it's got a good sharp tip on it. Since the pages are gonna, the details on the page are gonna matter on that a little bit. So you can use either this glue or the clear Gorilla Glue. I use the clear on this because the clear doesn't foam up as much. It dries a lot easier, and you don't have to worry about the excess squeeze out, and is just as strong and weather resistant. So basically, really quick here on this is that I'm not going to do a full build on this video. It is basically, I'm just going to show you the techniques I used on this scrap, so that way you'll get an idea for how to mimic this if you decide to build your own. So but anyways, we'll get right into it, and I'll show you the next step. Now, depending on how what style of books you want to use or make for this, I size these books as like from a piece of paper, so like 8 by 11, your normal. I'm using 2-inch foam, but you can vary it if you want to go 1 inch or 1.5 inches, so you can have like the staggered different book thickness going through it. Add more books, maybe less books. So I thought for this build 4 was pretty good. I think in the original picture it was 3. It's hard to remember that far back on it. But anyways, so to kind of get the edge here, I'm just going to grab something fairly round, roll of tape, and I am just going to mark it out. Just to create that radius. Doesn't have to be perfect, because a lot of it's going to be shaved off. So then we're going to do the other side. And then, as a guide from the end to end, this just kind of helps to create the radius that you're going for. Flip it over, match it up, Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just trying to get the shape as close as you can. We as haunters, definitely we're always picky, you know, want things to be perfect, but it's these small little details that we're only going to know, and from a distance a lot of people aren't going to know that, what we put into it. So with your blade, make sure you're always careful with it. Then you're just going to start shaving off. I use this line as a guide, and I'm just going to slice it off like this. And we're going to do the other side. Making sure your knife is pretty sharp for this, it will slide right through. Again, be careful not to cut yourself. You get pretty much the bulk of it off, and then you find your coarse sanding block. Usually it's that way it's going to take it down pretty quick. And again, you're just going to go close to the line, and then you're just going to help finesse the radius. So not exactly to the line, but you know, that does give you the radius there. And even all these little cracks and stuff that come up, it might help in the long run, because you know, it's supposed to be stone, so stone cracks. So that might help with giving it a little more of a, you know, unique characteristic to it. Even if you have pieces and you just glue these blocks together, which like this one here is glued together, you know, those can help out with making extra special cracks and stuff for that as well. So the next part, I'm going to get the camera a little bit closer, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do the pages. All right, so this next section, don't worry, I'm a little off camera, but this is the focus point anyways. So get your Sharpie, and what I did is I just kind of gave it like a, you know, the end of the pages in the book. You know, these are supposed to be like old classic books. So I'm gonna go right across from here. I'm gonna grab the straight edge, and then I'm gonna kind of define the edge for the hard cover, you know, as if it were a real book. Mine, my original one, I didn't quite do that, again, because it's, you know, it's at a distance. So, but, you know, some of those little details, you know, people see. So now we've got, you know, your outline, and inside is where we're going to burn this out. This stuff does stink. Make sure you're in a well-vented area. I do have another door open and a fan going on behind me. Hopefully you're not hearing that, or it's, you know, over loud in the microphone. And then it's up to you which side you want to start on. I usually start it over on this side first. And if you're younger, make sure you have some supervision with these. These do get hot, so don't, you know, burn yourself. Be careful with it, because you know, setting these down can cause things to catch on fire. You don't want that to happen. So you don't necessarily need goggles for it, or any you know, safety glasses. Again, just take all precautions. So then again, excuse me, the cord here. You're not going to go very deep. You're just going to follow it really quick, because it's going to burn on its own. And then you're going to move it over. Go to your line and go through. And you're just doing it really fast. So you're not really letting it have time to really fully melt in. Probably when you first touch it, it will. Again. You're just creating it as you go. So sometimes I turn it over, go from the other side. Gives me something a little bit more to guide on. Again, you're just going really quick. You're not letting it sink into the foam. And then pretty much should have your state. Next up, I'm going to show you how I mounted the skull into the top. Get your skull. If you if you want to keep it as a regular stationary static prop, you don't need one that with the jaw that moves. Or if you want to position, the mouth, jaw in a different, arrangement. And so we're going to put it kind of like right about here, for example. And then I'm just going to trace the jaw. Define it in the back. Again, around. Now this one is fairly thin, so you don't have to go very, very deep on your drawing. I'm just kind of make it out to roughly about 1/4 of an inch. And then we're going to take and you're only going to go about 1/4 of an inch deep. So you're just going to melt this out. Does not need to be perfect because nobody's really going to see this part. Go ahead and check it. Yeah, fits right in there just nice. So then you can use your glue, either this Gorilla Glue here, wet down the trough here that you just cut. Put a couple little dabs in here. You don't have to do the whole thing because this stuff foams up a lot. So if you ever, I would say use the clear one. It doesn't foam up and it's just as good, and it's also weather rated. So you can actually use that all the way around, which is what I did on this one. So that's gonna glue up there, and then put a piece of tape over it to hold it in place. That's that part, and I'll do a little bit on the painting for you next. All right. Okay, next section. We're doing painting. You can find these little samples at Home Depot. I believe like new. You can get them for around under $5, maybe $2.50, $2.50, or you can find the Oops paints. This was an Oops. Actually, both these were Oops, and they're like 52 cents. So if you get close to like stone color or black, they can also, if there's enough room in them, they can also add a little more to make it a little darker. But please don't bug the paint associates to try to make it something that it's not. So find colors that work for you, and then if you need them altered a little bit, they'll be glad to do that. But if you need something really altered, then you're gonna have to buy either a quart or a full gallon. So anyways, so I like to dab it on, and then you're just gonna do the normal painting. I would say don't use spray paint on these. These will melt. That's not going to be great for you, your project. They'll ruin it. But with this purpose here, I'm going to probably end up going into directly right in the gray without letting it dry. So you can kind of get the idea. Now we're going to have the gray. Again, with the gray and stone, we're going to do kind of like a dry brushing. Again, if this was a little bit drier, it'd probably blend differently. So I do apologize for being a little messy. But again, it's just to give you an idea, a good visual of it. I'm not a painter by any means. such as something like this. As you do, you kind of give it a little twist motion. The next step, what I did to get this green, is I actually used some watered down green, and then this just kind of goes on as a spray. You know, let it get a little extra, you know, drippy on the front. And then if you have the stack of books, you know, it's just going to drip them down, create that extra effect on it. I think I did like 2 different greens on this, so I went with this color here, which is more of like an olive green, and then I went with like more of a forest green for a little bit of a darker on the rest of it. So anyways, I hope that helps with.
So here's a close-up of the motor
build.
It's a motor that I found probably close to 10 years ago, and
the next step,
it's a slow RPM motor.
Really,
I want to say it's about a 4 to 5
I'll show you a
RPM.
little more on the motor aspect of it.
I ended up finding it by accident through a supply center, which I don't think they sell them anymore. I ended up making a small arm out of PVC. I heated it up and flattened it out. Used a 1/4 20 bolt, and then I ended up using a shaft collar to hold the wire in place. The wire goes up to the skull, and then it hooks onto an eye hook. Overall, it's really simple. This can also be done with a normal Reindeer motor or synchronous motor, which I would suggest it would be the best way to go. These little motors that I have here, I just got lucky with them, so they are really hard to find now. I can't even tell you what the model is. So in order for me to mount the motor, I had to use a 1/4 inch piece of plywood, and then the 1x3 by 6 inch, I believe, to allow me to attach the motor.
So I want to thank you for watching this video, and if you stayed this long, I'm hoping that you're, you know, again, a little bit of creativity, you know, sparks for you to build something on your own. If you decide to build your own, I do have an email, restlesshillcemetery@gmail.com, and if you build one, please send me some pictures or a little video of it. I like to see others, what they've done with theirs, whether you make the mouth move, no skull, but maybe candles, make the eyes glow, something like that. Make it a little different, interesting. So I do appreciate you watching this video, and I look forward to making a new one, and hope you'll be able to watch that one too. So if you did like this, please like the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and also comment down below if you have any other questions. You can either email me or put them down below, and I'll reply back as soon as I can. So thanks, Hunters. Season Screamings.